Hello guys, welcome to Major's Garage. This is Suellio. I'm the crew chief for the Formula 1, Formula 3 and Formula 3.5. This week I'm actually going to do also the tutorial for the Pro Mazda here at the PM18 at Mid-Ohio. So let's go straight away to the lap. This lap was a 116.657. Let's go straight away to the first corner, basically preparing the first line by being very close to the edge on the right, so you ensure that you're having the widest arc possible, and then braking a little bit before the 100. I'm not really looking at the 100. I kind of have a little bit of a reference to know where I am, but as soon as I start braking, and you can see that that's not a lot of braking, I'm already looking way ahead because I'm looking for the beginning of the curve. I'm looking for the beginning of the curve. I want to be super close to the beginning. I don't want to touch it. In this lap, I barely touched it. It was not optimal. The car, as you can see, it does a little bit of a bounce there. If it was more than that, I would be in trouble. So try not to be touching, but try to be as close as possible to the beginning of this curve. This is the good reference for this car. So basically being very gentle with the brakes, very gentle with the steering, and just enough to be pointing the car and getting back on the throttle quite early, as you can see here. When you feel that the car is going to be as close as possible to this curve, and then the exit will kind of be a little bit natural. The car will push itself to the right here. Then going for the next corner, again I want to be super close to the edge when I start braking. I brake quite hard. The track is going up a little bit when you start braking, but then I'm immediately thinking about releasing the brakes and turn, especially because this is a very long corner, so you have to be on the entry already thinking about where your car is going to be on the exit. So because it's a long hairpin, as you can see, I'm not using the beginning of the I'm not using the right edge of the track so early. I'm trying to calculate where my car will be when I start getting back on the throttle, in a way that I find my car very close to the inside on the end of the curve. As you can see, this is the end, and that's actually when I start, when I am the closest to the curve. So we have some references here. We have the darker track here, darker path on the outside. As you can see, I'm not going to use that much. I want to use this square ending here, almost square, not square, but of this in between, dark, not so dark but not so light patch. Then I want to stay to the inside of this thinner and darker line, and I want to keep going to the inside. As you can see, we have this second not so dark path, and that's where I start getting back on the throttle. At this moment, I'm already really looking for where the end of the curve is, because I want the car to be closing a little bit to the inside before pushing itself to the outside again. At this moment, I'm being very aggressive with the throttle to make the car slightly oversteer. We want to be always slightly oversteering with this car on the exit. So basically we're churning the car with the throttle on exit here, and then really having the car gently going to the outside. Then we go flat out through this straight line basically, and then we get to this complicated sector here. I'm starting to brake in between the 300 and the 200, but it's really closer to the 200. As you can see, I'm already starting to brake here, probably 3 cars before the 200. I'm looking at the 200. I'm braking pretty hard on a straight line, and then I start to release the brakes as I turn in. I can really use this darker path here, and then I want to touch the curb, not too much. It's a little bit high. You can basically visit it, and then you want to be very aggressive on the throttle, and you want to let the car actually go all the way to the left. As you can see, I'm letting the car go very much to the left here, and then I'm bringing the car just a little bit to the right, you can see how I'm not actually using the track for this entry. It's better to be aggressive here and gain time here instead of preparing the next corner. And as you can see, I bring just a little bit to the right so I can prepare a little bit to compensate that. And then I want to really stay on the inside here, on the inside, on the inside, on the inside. Even when I get back on the throttle, I still want to stay at least maximum on the middle of the track. I do not want to use this area here, because if we do it, we will not have time to come back to the left here and prepare the next corner. And the next corner is super important because we're gonna be flat out for a good amount of time. So the amount of speed that we carry out of the next corner is gonna be much more important than gaining a little bit of time on this exit here. So I'm really thinking ahead already. I want to really bring my car as soon as I can to the left here, and I want to be on the entry. At some point, I want to be parallel to this white line, and I want to be actually touching it. So I want to be really on the limit of the track here. I do not upshift to third here. I stay on the second, so I can use the second gear engine brake to make the car turn a little bit more. I turned in slightly too early here, so as you can see, I'm actually having to correct my line slightly, but I was still able to have a very good rotation and to have my car on this curb, getting back aggressively on the throttle here to generate that good rotation, and then trying to keep flat out through this entire sector here. I want to really use this curb, basically touch the grass at this moment with the front tire, and then staying as much as you can to the left here. As you can see, just slightly, you have to actually guide the car basically with the force feedback, because it's always slightly oversteering. So if you try to turn with the steering too much to the left, you may get too much oversteer. So look at how my steering wheel is super gentle here, just a little bit, just guiding the rear a little bit. So I'm good enough on the middle of the track, trying to be as much to the left as possible, because I want to prepare my entry for the next corner that is going to be this uphill and then downhill right-hander. So as you can see, I'm not using this curb because I want to stay as much to the middle of the track, because I want to be very close and parallel to this yellow curb. If you use this curb here, you may end up pointing too much to the left when you start turning in for the next corner, and you may lose time. So as you can see here, when I start turning in, I'm already pointing at either parallel, maybe a little bit parallel for some time, but then when I'm leaving the curb, as you can see, I'm already pointing good enough. I'm pointing enough to the right, so that's very important. Very, very gentle with the brakes. As you can see, I'm basically trail braking all the way until the end, and then I'm connecting the end of that trail braking with the throttle immediately as soon as I feel that the car is going to be pushing itself all the way to the left. So the car basically oversteers here, then it understeers, and then it oversteers again. This is basically a pattern that we have because of the way the track goes up and then down and then kind of up again. So understeers a little bit and then again, boom, oversteers again. So you have to be prepared for that and just be correcting very slightly this behavior. Then for this penultimate corner, we want to be very, 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 very close to the wall, and we want to be basically very close to this division between the grass and the track and the tarmac, so you can really bring the car with a little bit of braking. As you can see, I'm almost always in this track, I'm braking slightly, like 1 to 5%, so I can shift a little bit of weight to the front tires and make the car turn in very gently. I don't need to brake for too long here. Waiting, but then even before the curve, as you can see, I'm already punching the throttle very aggressively. The car is in a considerably high amount of speed at this moment, so you don't need to be worried about the throttle application. But there's still a little bit of a slide here, very comfortable and fun oversteer, just need to be slightly correcting it. Then you leave the car all the way to the right here, and then we have this tricky long closing radius corner. As you can see, I'm already starting to brake here on the inside. Very gentle braking because the car is turning, and then still braking gently, still braking gently, still braking gently. And as you can see, at this moment my car is starting to drift wide because the track is closing and my speed is a little bit high. But that's actually expected, because if we drift wide here, we're gonna be put in a situation at the exit that will allow us to really get a good exit. So I want to again be very close to the curb at the end of it. As you can see at the beginning of the curb here, how far I am to the curb. I'm still closing, I'm still closing, I'm still closing, and then when I see that the car is going to do the corner, I can start getting back on the throttle. And then I want to finish the rotation of this corner with the throttle. I want the rear to rotate the car for me. As you can see, it's slightly oversteering here. So always very gentle with the steering and letting the car rotate it for me. And then changing direction so you can barely hit this grass here before the curb. If you hit more than that, you're gonna get an off track, so be careful with this, especially in qualifying laps. And then you can just basically go flat out here and be guiding the car very gently. Basically, if you're accelerating like that with this car, you turn just a little bit and the rear kind of already does the corner for you. So this is basically how I guide the car through all the exits. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this week, and bye bye.